have successfully put a buttonhole into the side seam area of this vintage wrap dress. This buttonhole is going to allow the strap for the tie to slide through, so this wrap dress can be tied and have a nice bow right here on the side. When you make a buttonhole on to anything, the next thing you need to do is open the buttonhole. So we have a seam ripper, and the seam ripper can be a very difficult tool to use if you're a little heavy-handed, because you may accidentally slice. You can see this little blade, it's sharp and it can slice clean through the fabric that you're trying to slit open, but also through the ends of your buttonhole, which would then cause the little guy to unravel. So what we want to do is put a safety in place to keep that from ripping open. We're going to use some straight pins. So right here, I'm going to place this straight pin across the end of the buttonhole, like that. And that way my seam ripper can't go past the pin and I can't pop my threads. I'm also going to put a straight pin at the bottom end of my buttonhole as well. So now I have a safety precaution. The next thing I want to do is insert the very sharp tip of the seam ripper into the bottom edge of my buttonhole right here. And then the next thing is to gently slide the seam ripper from here up to the top end of the buttonhole. I say gently because if you are in too much of a hurry, your little blade can slip off to the left or the right and cut your threads. But you don't want to cut your threads. After all that effort of putting that buttonhole in, you don't want to cut your threads. Instead of shoving this seam ripper upwards and risking going crooked, I pull this fabric into the little blade that's in that little Y right there. So this is what that's going to look like. Just gently pull it in. Take your time so you don't go crooked and slice your threads. And then when you get to the top end, you can't go any further because there's a straight pin in the way. Victory has been achieved. There's a nice opening. Take your pins out. Now turn this baby over because you want to trim the stabilizer from the back of your buttonhole. Turn this over. This is what's stabilized my fabric so that it wouldn't shrivel and pucker my fabric. So now I just need to trim that away carefully. Notice I am looking at the back side of my fabric. I'm being careful with my fingers to not cut anything that I don't want to cut. So having it flipped this way helps me ensure that I don't accidentally snip the dress. A little extra right there. If that's If that's too crisp of a stabilizer and you're worried it's going to irritate your skin, then you can always curve that as well. There's the back of the buttonhole, all trimmed and finished. Here's the front of the buttonhole. This is definitely a vintage dress. It's a fun thrift shop find that has been revived. Here's the strap for the dress. For the waist tie, here's the buttonhole slit. Put that waist tie through the slit. Tie your pretty bow. Thanks for watching. This is StitchinJenny. You can find more of my videos at StitchinJenny.com.